Welcome back, Airbnb family. Today starts video number 1 of a much anticipated series, which is Airbnb SEO rankings and how you as an Airbnb host can influence your rankings online and get more bookings. So Airbnb's official statement in a blog they released is that there's over 100 different parameters on their algorithm on what affects your SEO ranking. Now this is a lot, and some of these we have no control over really, and some they're just not really worth their squeeze. So of course, as a practical Airbnb host, we're gonna get right into the gritty about which ones you can influence first and fast in order to increase your Airbnb ranking quickly. So the ones that make the most sense to attack immediately first is filters. I know that a lot of you don't even think of this as an SEO thing, but it really is true. So when somebody's searching for a property and they punch in filters, if you don't meet the filters, you're gone, right? And this is the first line of defense against being visible on Airbnb. So for example, the number of people you can host, this is big. If you have a 2-bedroom apartment that hosts 6 people, if somebody is in a group of 8 and they search for you, you won't pop up. Right? So if you can host more people, you'll catch more filters. Other things people care about is whether or not you have coffee, or an iron and ironing board, which is overall like business ready. If you have a pool or a gym, washer and dryer, things like this. Just look at your Airbnb profile and see all those little check boxes for amenities. Try your best to get every single one checked. Another one that's common is a pack and play or a crib for families, of course, who are traveling with an infant. If you have it, you're good. Also, being wheelchair accessible is another one that could increase your visibility. Every single checkbox is another chance to be visible where somebody else cannot be, right? So it's a battle for amenities there. Max them out, which means you're gonna max out your visibility in Boolean searches. You either have it or you don't. It doesn't matter if your pool's better than somebody else's pool, just the fact that you have a pool means you're gonna show up. Make sense? And no, don't get like a little 3-foot wide kiddie pool and try to justify that, because that would be funny, but I don't think your guests would be happy. So moving on, once your listing has been seen, once your tile pops up and they have a choice to click on it, whether or not they click on it then becomes the next main factor for your SEO ranking. The number of clicks and views you get per month actually weighs into your SEO ranking by a pretty big margin. So I know it seems circular, which is you have to be seen to be clicked, but now you have to be clicked to be seen. But it's true. So how do we get clicked more frequently? That is the question. Just imagine the 2 main things that a potential guest sees when they click on your listing. Number 1 is the photo, that main thumbnail photo, and second is your title. So think about what people care about. For me, I actually iterate in my titles that I have a king bed. Right? My main photo is going to be the highest quality photo I can get, which if your property just isn't photogenic enough on the inside, for any reason you just can't make a really beautiful, well-balanced picture of the inside of your property, try to find a professional photo online of something wonderful about your neighborhood. So for example, in Houston, there's Midtown, right? There's plenty of stock photos of Midtown. The Galleria, there's plenty of photos of the Galleria Mall. Medical Center, there's of course plenty of professional photos there. In Fort Worth, there's Sundance Square and there's 7th Street. These are areas that people want to see. So if I just happen to have a property that I couldn't put a good internal photo on, you'd bet my ass I'm going to Google and I'm going to find a Google image of my neighborhood, and that'll be my first photo. Because what you're doing is you're creating curiosity because that photo looks inviting enough to click on. And then of course that title. Upscale or designer, spacious, king bed in the heart of Midtown Houston, something like that. You could try to allude to something that's extremely unique about your property too. That's another thing. Another side pro tip here, do not go too niche with your property, because if you go too niche and your listing, I remember seeing one that was called the Cherry Blossom Room. It was a shared space. You had a private room in a house. It had this really elegant Japanese serene theme. The problem is since it's a private room, you kind of ask yourself, well, what kind of host would theme their room this way, right? My main concern when booking a private room is who am I going to have to deal with during my trip? And I've had 2 kind of disastrous hosting situations where I booked a private room. So now I'm a little leery about the private room that I book. So if you're listing a private room, one main thing to really state in your description and your title is that you're a professional host who gives their travelers space if they desire space. This is a big one. So try to come off as not weird as possible. But to speak more about that cherry blossom room, this person got very few bookings in December. And I mean, December is a slow season in a lot of cities, but this could have been avoided if their listing was a little bit more neutral, a little bit more all-encompassing. So it was a domino effect, right? Her listing was too niche, so she didn't get enough clicks, which means her views were too low, so she started to get buried. Now, if she had a more generally welcoming description and photo, she'd had more views. And her beautiful niche listing probably would have been booked more, but I think the niche lowered her ranking. You see what I mean there? So make sure you have a well-balanced, beautiful, well-lit photo, one that's inviting, and make sure that your description alludes to what makes your listing better than other listings and unique, but don't go too niche. All right. So third, if you have availability, you will pop up, right? So avoiding single night bookings far in advance. This is a big one. And I actually did a video on an advanced pricing strategy on how to avoid one night bookings. So you're going to tax them. You're going to charge them a huge premium for a single night booking and then dramatically lower your rate for multi-night stays. So if you want to avoid one night and 2 night stays, you can do this by incentivizing a big discount starting at 3 nights or longer. I do mine where I just chop the 1 night and do a discount for 2 night stays or longer. By doing this, let's imagine right now it is just before Christmas here in Houston. And if I have somebody book February 5th, right, for 1 night, if somebody's going to search for 2 weeks, the beginning of February, I won't show up. And that'll lower my total views because I had one single 1 night stay, and it ruins my ability to accommodate multi-day stays. So really what you want to do is your bookings that are far in advance, you want to make sure that you get the booking you want, right? Which is like a 5-day or longer stay, right? I think over 50% of bookings in Houston are at least 7 days long. So if over 50% of bookings are at least 7 days long, and somebody books you a 1 night stay, I guarantee you that will cost you a long-term one. But not only that, to be on topic with this video, it's going to cost you views. And again, views are everything with your SEO. So discourage single night stays, don't deactivate it, but raise your single night rate up to keep your 1 night stays away. So that way you can still choose to have a 1 night stay if you need to, fill up your unit last minute. Like let's say tomorrow I have a night open. I still have the option to take a single night stay and I'll drop that price back down, right? And take that single night at that point. But for views' sake, single nights are actually bad for your views. So from availability then, Airbnb also tracks how popular your listing is, like what your percentage of occupancy is. So you'll notice that if you look in your area and click on other listings, you're going to see this listing is being viewed by 20 other people right now. Or it'll give you a gem, rare find. This listing is barely ever available. That's great. If you get that little icon that this listing is barely ever available, which means you're over 90% occupied, pretty much on average for the last couple of months, that'll increase your ranking. So you want to be fully booked. So again, long-term stays that fill up your calendar are great for your SEO. So prioritize those. Next, another fun one is wish list. So a single person adding you to their wish list won't increase your SEO ranking, but having a good amount of people do it will. So you'll notice on Facebook, there's actually groups where you can put your listing up and everybody will share wish lists. You hosts who came up with that idea, you are awesome. You keep that up because after all, we are a family and our competitors are not Airbnb hosts next to us. Our competitors are hotels. They are the ones that we're trying to beat out. There's enough for all of us hosts. Don't worry. You know what I'm saying? And then a last little one that you can utilize that also isn't necessarily thought of SEO, but sharing the link to your property to get people to refer it. So by posting your link where people will see it, they'll click the link, and that's another way that you get a view. But also, if you can incentivize your previous guests to share your property, and you can get referral bookings, that's another great way to do business. So find a system where you follow up with guests, ask them to add your property to their wish list, and invite them to share. And even tell them to let them know that that guest was the reason why somebody else booked, and you'll give that guest like a discount on a future stay. So train like your own like referral code program with previous guests. And this is something that if you don't have too many listings, it's pretty easy to manage. So in review, you are going to make sure that all of your filters look good. You're going to have a king bed. You're going to have as many amenities as possible. So that way you pop up as many times as possible when somebody does a search. You are going to prioritize long-term bookings. So that way a single night stay doesn't ruin your availability. You're going to make sure that your first photos is balanced, beautiful, well lit, it's inviting, and it's neutral enough that it doesn't fit into too deep of a niche where people will overlook it because it's obviously not what they're looking for. You don't need to be exactly what somebody's looking for, but you need to be good enough that they'll click on it. Make sure that your title is well written, no grammatical errors, that it does allude to something wonderful inside the photo or inside the listing, so that way people will click on it again. So you can have that kind of clickbait catchiness. I put that I have king beds in almost every single listing that I have a king bed in. I'll advertise it in the title. I'll even advertise like free Wi-Fi or a heated pool in the title. These are other reasons why people will click. And then of course your description, you want your description to have everything that you pretty much want it to have. Now, there is a theory here that Airbnb is working on keyword searches. So what I would do is, just like with this YouTube video, I will design my descriptions to kick certain keywords. So your title and the description, if there's keywords in there, and so you're like looking for a property and you say cradle, right, in your search, if you list that you have a cradle in your description, then it should pop up or get a boost in SEO because of a keyword search. So let's start playing around with those. I'm going to be testing this, and I'll come back with another video about keyword SEO too, once we have a little bit more data. So this concludes our little overview of SEO ranking thus far. If any of this was incomplete and you want me to go into more detail, feel free to leave a comment down below. Or if you want me to check on another aspect and you want to know how crucial you think that'll be towards your listing's visibility, feel free to ask more pointed questions in the comments below. Of course, like the video, help it get circulated, share it with your other host friends so that way they can become better hosts and get their profile out there more. Of course, if there's any other topics that you want me to cover, I'm here for you. Just, of course, request them and I'll do my best to get to them. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you on the other side.